How to build an attractive body. This video is going to compact everything I know in how to take your physique from looking like this to looking like this, with the intention of building an attractive body, not with the intention of being a strong, powerlifting mule. I've been there, I've done that, and the results don't look like this. So I'm going to give you everything I know in one video. I'm going to give you the phases that you'll need to go through, the program that I would recommend you follow, how to set up your calories, and then also how and when to make changes. And in the last point, we'll discuss what's honestly going to stop you from getting to the goal so you can already expect it and get round it. If you are new to the channel, welcome. My name's Tom Sergi. I run the Gorilla Platoon, where we get results like this. This is the program. This is what I fucking live and breathe and do on a daily basis. So this is just a bit of credibility as to why I'm worth listening to in this video. And my promise to you is by the end of the video, you will know how to build an attractive body. So if I deliver on the promise, subscribe. If I don't. Absolutely fair enough. And I'm sorry if I wasted your time, but I don't think I will. I'm very confident that you will know how to build an attractive upper body. So what we're going to cover in this video, in the overview, phase 1, the recomp, getting a grip of your body, and why this phase 1 is probably one of the most important. Phase 2, the gaining phase, so we're lean, but far from satisfied. Fat from satisfied, apologies. Phase 3, the mini cut, time to show it all off. The exact workout routine to follow, so you can take a screenshot of that. How to set up your calories. How to know when to make changes on your plan. And finally, as just mentioned, the biggest constraint to you achieving the goal. So, let's dance. Phase 1, the body recomposition. Why do you need to do a body recomposition? To be honest, because the majority of you watching this, unless you are already 8 to 10% body fat, in which case you could fast forward to phase 2, you need to do a body recomposition because you are carrying too much body fat to be effective in a gaining phase. If we can get you from where you were here, let's say around 20%, down to 8 to 10% body fat, you are going to be very lean and responsive to the way your body will utilize nutrients and also to training stimulus. On top of that, the recomp phase has one of the greatest impacts on your motivation and change to your physique. Because when you get 10 kilograms leaner, you can see all the muscle you've got. And if you train how I expect you to train after watching this video, you will build some muscle as well. And I'll show you how you'll know if you're tracking and actually doing that. So you're going to have one of the greatest impacts in doing the recomp phase. You've built muscle, you've got leaner, you've learned how to train. You're now ready to take on more food to assist in more muscle growth. If you give somebody that's this amount of body fat more food, do you think they're going to use that nutrients efficiently? Or do you think their body is going to use it how it is used to using it, storing it as more adipose tissue? So that's why it's important to do the recomp first. How do you do a body recomp? So it depends where you're starting at from a body fat perspective. Let me show you what sort of a drop and deficit you would need to do. And we've already touched on why we need to start with this. So as we start off, and this will also touch on how to set up your calories as well, what you want to do is take your scale weight first, and you also want to understand your body fat percentage. Now for you at home, the best means and the most accurate means you could do of gaining an understanding of your body fat percentage is to look at photos. This here is a pre-recorded chart of a body fat guide, where we can see a lot of you may be starting in and around or close to the 20% body fat mark. So right now we've got your body fat and your scale weight here. We've got your lean mass. We know that to get to 8 to 10%, we're going to need to add that much to this figure. So roughly, if you're 80, around 20%, you're going to need to come down anywhere from 10 to 12 kilos. Let's be generous and say you need to drop 10 kilos. You can expect to do that, by the way, in around about a 10-week or even 12-week period, depending on your level of adherence. Now, from there, you've got your resting metabolic rate, and you've also got your activity level. Most people are going to sit at the average here. Moderately active 3 to 5 days a week. If you're fucking desk-bound all the time, don't really move, you're a 135. Likewise, if you work in construction or the military or something like that, and you're active all the time, you're going to times this figure by 175. Now, that's going to give you your maintenance calorie target. From there, now you've got your maintenance, we know you need to go into a deficit in order to drop body fat. The closer you are towards that 10%, the less of a deficit you will need. The further away, the bigger the deficit you will need. As a rule of thumb, if you are closer to 30%, you can take your calories just a little higher than resting metabolic rate, making sure protein is at the lean mass times by 2.4, and the fats are at 20% of the overall target, meaning what is left is for carbohydrates. Now, if you are sat around about the 25% mark, again, you can be still aggressive with the drop, and I would be coming in here at a deficit of around about 600 calories. Again, 25% body fat, there's a lot to come off. You will need to drop more if you're, you will need to drop more than 10 kilo if you're 25% body fat. I'm going to assume you're sat around the 20% mark, in which case you could go fairly aggressive, dropping it at 440. The closer you are, if you're 17, 16, I would come in just 200 calories less. Just below maintenance, and you can sit at that for a long period of time, and that will allow you energy to drive performance in the gym to build muscle, whilst also slowly pulling off body fat. Let me just show you a quick example of a result where we did this. So some quick examples here, sat 6 weeks just below maintenance and then an aggressive deficit to get lean. Same with this guy. Also the same with this guy, and the same with this guy, and also this guy here. So that's the strategy. If you're fairly leaner, you can sit at a just below deficit for 6 weeks and then go into a more greater deficit to pull off the body fat. If you're around that 20% though, we're going to sit you somewhere around here. So for this first phase, you could expect it's going to take anywhere from 10 to 12 weeks. You could see a kilo drop off per week. So now when you set up your feeding with that, you're going to have this guy, for example, protein set to 2.4, 154, and then also fats, 20% of this target at 51. Carbs are then going to fill the rest at 302. Carbs important to drive performance in the gym. This is body recomposition, not just complete fat loss with no consideration to building muscle. So you need enough food to drive performance in the gym. Food is sacred. Okay, so how do we still create the deficit if we need to keep food as high as possible? Well, you can do output through two means. Formal cardio, where you would start off at around 20 minutes per day, keeping the heart rate 120 to 130, and you would slowly increase that week on week when you needed to see a change. Or you've also got a step count. I recommend do 10,000 each day, and you could progressively overload that figure as time goes on. The only downside with the steps, it just comes at a cost of more hours in the day to do so, which not all of you will have available. So you're going to rinse this process out, and in order to see change, you will assess and track all data, specifically scale weight and photos, food, output, steps, and sleep. Assess how did you get on for that week. Did you drop the kilo? If not, you need to create a bigger deficit. Either you take from food or you increase through output. Again, 20 minutes, go to 30 daily, and then continue to progress it that way. You should still be dropping 1 kilo every week until you get to the goal of being 8 to 10% body fat. Again, comparing yourself, sitting around this guide here. Visible, clean-cut abs, that is you set at 10% body fat, and you are ready to progress to the next phase. So now at this point, you will have done the recomp. You'll be happy about yourself. You'll be cutting about. Everyone will be like, fucking hell, look at the change for you. 12 weeks and you've completely transformed yourself. You've gone from looking like this now to this. You're lean. We're in a good space. Maybe we built a little bit of muscle, but the majority is we pulled off the body fat and now we're in a good space. Now at this point here, you will not be satisfied, but you will be a lot happier. And it's important that you're not satisfied, because if you want that real attractive upper body, there's still a lot of work, and dare I say it, maybe the hardest phase is now going to come, the gaining phase, to actually put more muscle on during this time frame. Now, going back to why we got you 8 to 10% body fat, is because we need the biggest of window when you're in this gaining phase. We don't want to be gaining for 4 months and then have to stop because your body fat has gone over 20%. That's not going to work. So we want to be 8 to 10%. Now you've got a massive window and a massive time frame to be gaining muscle, and slowly you will put on body fat over time as well. But the window is huge. How much should you gain per week? It depends, but anywhere from 0.3 to 0.6 per week of the total scale weight. If you are doing that, you are in a sweet spot with a gaining phase. The main focus when you are in a gaining phase is your gym floor performance. This is, are your numbers improving week on week on week. And we'll come on to what to do if they're not. Now, just to cover training, we'll go through a training program after, but I want you to see when you're training how your sets should actually look to build muscle. Because if they don't look like this and you start eating more, you will just get fucking fat and you will waste your time. So it's very important that it's black and white. This is how your sets need to look, and then you will make gains. Let's show you now. So when we're in the gym training, there are a few things to understand. The first thing to understand is what muscle are you training? Once you understand that, it's important to know where does the muscle start and where does it finish. In this instance, we're going to train the pecs. The pecs start here on the sternum and they run across and they attach onto your upper arm, your humerus. The goal of the pecs is to pull the upper arm towards the midline, i.e. the centre of the body. The goal is not to press the load from our hands from A to B. We want to think about stretching, pulling the muscle fibers apart, pausing with the tension at the bottom, not letting it flop to nothing, and then shortening the muscle by driving the origin and insertion together. That's the first thing to understand. The next thing to understand is what piece of equipment are you using. Some will be more challenging in different phases. We can see this machine is hard. To be honest, it's got a good resistance curve. It is hard at the top, but still hard at the bottom. You will find with dumbbells itself, there are less resistance. And similar to this, at the top, the resistance drops off because of the fact that your joints are stacked together, so you lose resistance. But on a dumbbell exercise at the bottom, there is a fuck ton of tension. We want to also make sure we nail down, and this is probably critical, the speed in which the reps are performed. So you come down slow, you pause, and then you drive back together. Come down slow, pause, and drive back together. The next thing to understand when you're doing your sets is, are you taking it through a full range of motion? So we've got time and attention through tempo. We've also got distance traveled. Are you doing half reps? Because if you are, you're going to lose out on some fucking gains. Take it through a full range of motion. If it hurts, it's because you're doing it wrong. So with this, you would want to bring your elbows in slightly closer to outlet 45. Here, a little bit closer. And that way you won't grind your shoulder against the housing. Stay composed as you train through. And what is the most important part is that you train fucking hard. As we look into this last rep, okay, we're starting to get tired. We stay composed. Look how long it takes to get the load back up. This is a fucking grinding, training with true intensity. It's about a 4-second concentric to get the load back up, and we still come back down composed. So the main components of training are we stretching, shortening the main muscle, bringing the origin and insertion together? Are we lifting slowly, controlled manner, pausing at the bottom, not just lifting the load from A to B? Are we taking it through a full range of motion? And are we really training with fucking intensity and beating what we did last time? Nail all those 4 factors, you will grow. You will absolutely grow. Now, I want to make the point that eating more isn't always the answer. The reason I say that is people think gaining phase, and they just think the most important factor is that they eat more and they're in a surplus. The surplus is to support the training. If you train like that, you will need more food because you're training like a fucking animal. The surplus will support the effort and intensity produced on the gym floor. It's not that you eat in a surplus and you build muscle. It's just simply that the food was there as fuel to train in the gym. It kind of sounds obvious when I say that, but I know when people go into a gaining phase, their biggest priority is just eat. And they don't train that hard and they just get fucking fat. And that's the long and short of it. What to do when progress stalls. So if your scale weight is not increasing and your numbers in the gym have started to plateau out, then there's a few reasons for that. Number one, your recovery is not good enough and you're training too hard for what you can recover from, in which case add in maybe a deload week if you've been doing this consecutively for a while. I would also recommend after your recomp phase, run a 1 week deload before going into the gaining phase. I would also then check how is your sleep. Are you really getting 8 hours each night and actually growing from the stress and stimulus you put on? Because the goal is not just to train. At that point, you're just digging yourself deeper into a hole without having the chance to cement it in, i.e. sleeping and recovering and cashing in the gains that you've worked so hard for. If both of those are going okay, then it may be that you don't have enough food actually driving you in to make that gain and to get over that next number. So you could have a look at adding another 200 calories. And that's when to progress your food in a gaining phase. If the scale weight has stayed flat for 2 weeks, And if your numbers in the gym are plateauing, it's a fair... And also, how's your appetite? Are you actually quite hungry or not really? If so, then add an extra 200 calories in the form of carbohydrates, ideally around the workout, but if not, they're going to come later on throughout. Really, you just want to push carbs. They're your biggest driving factor for energy and performance in the gym. Now, lastly, a trick that you can do to get round lifting plateaus in the gym is, let's say we're doing our exercise that you've just seen, the plate loaded press. I'm getting 9 reps, but I just can't seem to get that 10th rep. What you could do in this instance is actually add more weight, which sounds counterintuitive. But you're only going to add another 10 pounds to the overall load itself. Now, by doing that, you then do the same amount of reps. You've added just 90 pounds more weight instead of 270 pounds more weight, because to move that for a 10th rep means you have to move 270 pounds through that distance. I've only added 90 and I've only had to move it through 9 reps, but there's 90 pounds of more gains. That works well for compound exercises. On the flip side, if it's an isolation you're struggling on, it's not going to work because adding too much load, you will just not be able to do it. You know that for a fact. If you can, then you're going to try and get an extra rep. And the extra rep is more achievable with lighter weight because you're moving less load. For an isolation, it seems to work a lot more efficient. On the flip side to both of them, if you can't make the progress in either of those, then just look to perfect the eccentric portion of the rep or your time under tension in general, and make sure that that is nailed on crucially. At that point, you're maxing out all of the points, and you will see progress by this point. If you've taken the recovery time, you've added more food if it's needed, and you've then also perfected and manipulated your training through what I've just mentioned, you will get over the stall and you'll continue to make those gains and carry on. And they will come. Of course they'll come. The body's very clever and adapting to what we put on it. So you'll need to make those changes, but you're aware of them now, so that's how to go for it. One thing to mention about the off-season. Where you've been lean, you kind of look bigger when you're leaner. So you've seen yourself in your best light. As you progress through the off-season, yeah, you'll get bigger, which is nice, and you'll feel big and strong, but you will start to accumulate body fat, and that body fat will start to sit and look smoother on your muscles. And when that happens, it is really a mental game to know that you have to push through this point, because it sounds counterintuitive. You want to get in shape and look good, but to do so you have to put on more muscle. With that comes body fat. Putting on fat doesn't sound good in any light at all, and I'm with you on that, mate. But you have to push through that, and you have to know it's not for the long term. It's just for a short time, and you can get that body fat off quick. We could drop 1 kilo a week, remember, to pull body fat off. So if you've got 8 kilo of fat we need to pull, that's 8 weeks worth. That's not that long at all. So we need to understand that you will come to a point where you are uncomfortable with how you look because of the body fat you are carrying. However, look at things in the long term. Don't be so selfish that today you want to look in the mirror and feel good. Look at it as, I'm going to square away my future self. I will suffer now. I will look fat and horrible and have to wear a fucking t-shirt when it's fucking summer and not take my top off, even though I'm supposed to be an athlete, because future me is going to have more tissue because I pushed through in the gaining phase. I got those extra numbers out. I didn't cut it short early because I didn't run out of body fat, but B, I actually had more to give, and I didn't stop because of my own mental clarity. Now, that day will come, and I want you to be aware of it, and I want you to understand you still need to push through. It is all part and parcel of this, and I'll come on to these points later on, but it's all about the man you need to become in order to get this form of a physique. So that's phase 2. As we push from phase 2, you're going to go into phase 3, and this is the mini cut. This is the exciting bit. This is the, I'm so fat and uncomfortable. I've put on a shit ton of muscle, but I'm so fat and uncomfortable, I just can't wait to get it off me. This is where we chisel your boulder into a sculpted fucking statue. Okay, so the mini cut, the exciting bit. Now, the beautiful thing about the mini cut, it's not like doing the recomp. The recomp, you had less muscle and probably more body fat. So it took longer, it took more effort, and the result wasn't as good. At this point, we've created our boulder, we've added a shit ton of muscle all the way through, and now we need to pull off the body fat. So when we did his mini cut, it was only 8 weeks, versus the starting time frame was around about, I think 13 in general. I'd have to double check and get the data back up, but let's go for 13. And this was only 8 weeks from his end of his gaining phase. So, and it's exciting because you're seeing all the new muscle, all the new tissue you've put on. Now, when it comes to the mini cut, the same principle applies as before. Drop 1 kilo a week. keep protein high, train hard in the gym. I'll show you the program that you're going to follow in a minute. And you will just keep going down until you hit the goal. But motivation is the highest it will ever be. You'll get shit ton of photos, shit ton of Instagram pictures. Birds will message you when you put fucking this picture up on your story. And you'll feel like an absolute god and you deserve it. Because at this point, it would have been 12, 13 weeks plus an 8-9 month gaining phase plus another 8 weeks. You're looking at like just over a year to look like this for where you did in the start. All right, but that's 1 year of your fucking lifetime. And you're going to be on this earth like a fair amount of time. If you watch channels like this, you actually care about fitness and health. You're going to be on this earth for a long time. So I think you can suffer for 1 year of dieting, bulking, feeling comfortable, feeling hungry, to then have the physique that you want. And fuck me, it's a lot easier, as you know, it's a lot easier to maintain something than it is to actually get it. So the mini cut there's not too much intricate points we need to discuss with it, because it's the same as the diet and fat loss phase. When do you make a change? When you're not seeing results? With the scale weight sat flat, you need to pull a lever. You either decrease from food, but I don't suggest that straight away. I think you increase from output, time permitted, either 20 minutes of cardio or you push more steps up. You keep pulling those levers until you get down to the lean level of body fat. And it honestly doesn't need to be more complicated than that, to tell you the truth. And then you have the physique that you want. So they're the 3 phases you'll have to go through: recomp, gaining phase, and mini cut, to then look how exactly you want. The program that you're going to follow, and again, you don't have to follow this. This is just what I do for my guys, and you could, if you like the look of it, you could screenshot. You can follow this. So it's a 5-day training split. And you're going to do 3 days, 1 day rest, 2 days, 1 day rest. So there's 2 rest days across 7 days. Training split as follows. It's geared around building an attractive body, which is predominantly going to look to focus on this upper shelf region here. The legs are not going to get neglected, but they're not going to be the biggest driving factor when building this form of a physique. So let's go through the exercises. First, we've got pull. This is going to be a single arm pull down. In all of these exercises I speak through, I've done videos on how to perform all of them. If you go on, like, I've done a series of like the perfect workout, but it's just really this program broken down into the videos, and it's like the perfect back workout. It's got the exercise in here, the perfect push workout, arms, legs, etc., etc. So the pull, we've got single arm pull down for the lats, T-bar row for the upper back, pull down again for the lats, shrugs for the upper traps, preacher curl for the biceps, rear delt flies for the back of the shoulders, and then cable curl. So different tension in different positions for the bicep here. And again, cable curl, arm slightly behind the body, preacher curl, arm in front of the body. Now, sets, and the way I operate with sets is 1 top set, heavy, 8 to 12 or a 6 to 10, exercise dependent. 2 back off, 12 to 15, drop the load by 20%. The reason for top set, back off set, I've done a video on it, but basically, you will just train harder. If I only give you a certain amount of sets to do with certain rep ranges, don't fucking miss. Send it, hit the rep ranges, progress. Then we've got push, pec deck to start with, incline press. It'll either be machine or dumbbell. This is dependent on resources available in your gym. Flat press, shoulder press, dips, because we want to add a lot of load through that long head of the tricep. Lateral raises, push down, and then ab crunch. Into leg day. So we've got leg extension and hamstring curl. Hit the muscle in the short position first, where we are weakest. 8 to 12, 1 back off, because the pain and the intensity that comes from these 2 exercises would be quite sinister to do 2 back off sets. Then we're into our heavy movement exercises, either leg press, a hack squat, or a pendulum, top set, back off set. RDL for the glute and hamstrings, top set, back off set. Split squat or a lunge. This is a long exercise actually. 8 to 12 and then 2 times 12 to 15. And then we're going to hit some calf raises after. After you've had your rest day, you're then into chest and back, or back and chest. T-bar row, pull-ups, shrugs, single arm row, rear delt flies again, pec deck, incline press, flat press. Again, it's a flavour of the 2 of these. And then we're into arms and delts, giving it its own day, because it's a very important factor. If we look at the physique again, it's important that we develop strong across here. So we want our arms and delts to have its own day with its own focus when we are fresh. So shoulder press, this time dumbbell instead of machine, because we're fresher. So we can do the dumbbell, and like the fact that stability needs to be a factor is not an issue when we're as fresh. Dips as well. Cable curl, tension at the bottom. Lateral raise with the dumbbells. Push downs, hammer curls, incorporate about forearms, cable lateral raises, because then we can still hit the muscle in the length position, and then ab crunch again. Overall, sets per week, you've got chest at 16, back at 24, the back being the biggest muscle really, or area of the upper body. So that's why you can look at it like you've got to break down between the traps and the lats, which are two massive muscles in themselves. Delts at 18, arms at 24, but actually it's 12 per one. So if you really want to focus on the arms, I'd be looking to shave off sets of the back and allocate more towards the arms. This will be your goal dependent on areas that you want to break up. For this guy, his arms were already quite strong. The goal was to bring up the chest and the back, which I actually just realised I've got a photo for you, so apologies. Abs at 6, and again, you can progress this as you go on. Legs, I put at 16. Obviously, that's not all, like, the legs breaks down into hamstrings at 3, 5, quads a bit more. The quads will also capture the glutes. You could say you capture 2 sets here. You're going to capture it on here. You're going to capture it on all of this. So your arse is going to be fucking massive, to tell you the truth, because it's taking an absolute battering. But I've generalised legs here with just 16. So you could take a screenshot of this program, and then you've got that then moving forward. Setting up the phases and when to make a change. So I've kind of been over this actually in the start of the video, so I won't harp on about it again, but essentially you're going to assess your body fat and your scale weight, make changes when you've tracked the data for a week. Fucking track the data, by the way. If you don't track the data, you're not going to know when to make a change. You're not going to know if it's actually working. Photos every week. From the moment you start till you finish, photos every week, weighed every day. Track your feeding, track your output, and track your sleep. If you're making progress, kilos coming off each week, don't touch it. Don't fucking touch it. Rinse that shit out until it doesn't. Then pull the lever. Increase through output or decrease through food. And again, you'll rinse that out. You'll work. You'll see gains until you won't. Then make the change again. Keep pulling levers until you hit down towards the goal scale weight to begin with. From there, gaining phase, add 0.3 to 0.6 per week. If you're not doing that, increase more food. And then you're into the mini cut, same process. Doesn't need to be complicated, boys, when you're going through that. It is simple, but we'll come on to why it is actually hard to do at the same time. And this is what we're going to take you on to now. The one thing stopping you from achieving the goal. So up to now, I've given you the full tools on how to basically get from where you are now to the attractive body that you want. The phases, the training, how to do it, this, that, and the other. And I think you look at this and think, I could do this. What you've said is not fucking rocket science. You're not a science rocketist. You're just a guy that understands body composition. But you'll watch this video, you'll set everything up, you'll start, and you'll even start making progress. A few weeks will go by, and then something will happen. You'll see online calisthenics are now the best way to start making gains. Bang. You've halted your progress and started moving in another direction. You'll do that for a little bit and you'll be like, actually, I fucking don't really see myself making that many gains. Right, back to bodybuilding, let's go. Oh, good, now we're back on track. Good. And my favourite fitness influencer is telling me I should do this workout. So I'm going to do this workout, which, by the way, follow any workout for the longest period of time. It's going to work. But the fact is, you've come off the straight line, getting towards the goal. So then we have this issue. Then you're like, fuck this guy. What he said was horse shit. He just wants to try and sell me his program. So back to it again. And you're back to it, you're making progress, and then you've got some like holiday shit that comes up and that slows you down. But because you've not been doing it that long, you haven't built the character traits in order to go on holiday, come back and get back to it. So it takes you even longer just to get back towards the goal. You start reversing a bit. Then you have a fuck this event where you're like, no, we can do this. Right, let's get back to it, get back to it. And before you know it, to get to the goal is just a straight line. A to B. Follow exactly what I said. For the year, you'll have a fucking good physique. But what will happen is you'll get distracted. You will lose focus to the goal and you will zigzag around like this. And eventually, you will probably get there eventually. But what could have taken it in a year, it will take you 3 or fucking 4. And that's with you knowing all the right information that someone's given you to get to the goal. Most people don't know this information and then they have this on top. No wonder they never get it, because their brain will stop them. Their brain will always find a new shiny thing to do, new thing that's exciting, and then before you know it, they've just not made progress. This is what it looks like when people try and fucking achieve a goal without someone keeping them accountable and helping them to actually get to it. And this is what's stopping you. But it goes a layer deeper than that. You see, the art of actually getting you to achieve the goal is being able to balance your focus, for one, which we've kind of just touched on. It's honestly, it goes a little bit deeper than the physique. And to tell you the truth, it was never even about the physique. To build an attractive upper body, the clue's in the title. Attractive. You want to be attractive. Why do you want to be attractive? Well, everyone wants to be fucking attractive. You're gonna get better quality people around you. Let's be honest. If you see a good-looking person in the street and a homeless person in the street, who are you more likely to speak to? It just is the way it is, and it's fine. It's not your fault. It's not no one's fault. It's just the way life has set it up, and that's the game we have to play. That's absolutely fine. But remember, it was never about the physique. It was about what the physique was going to do for you. It was about how the physique was going to make you feel. It was about how you were going to carry yourself as that human being. You're going to make a shit ton of money at some point in your life, and it will never have been about the money. It's about the person you needed to become to be able to get the money in the first place. It's about that your standard is here for what you're happy to accept, but it needs to be up here. And that comes from your self-image. How you view yourself and how people have conditioned you to think is then how you will put yourself into the world. And you will reaffirm that daily, because to have our beliefs challenged is uncomfortable and we don't like it, rightly so. So you will do things on a day-to-day to affirm it. The analogy that someone once taught me, which is a really good one, is if you were to jump on hot coal rocks, you would try and get off as fast as possible because it's hot and fucking uncomfortable. So look at the hot coal rocks as your baseline standard for how your physique looks. If, like, this guy now looks like this is his standard. Because he's seen it, he's felt it, he understands this is who he needs to be. To go below this would be hot and fucking uncomfortable. And he would do whatever he could to get back to that point. The same thing needs to go for you, but right now you don't have the thing. But you need to act like you already are the guy with the thing. You need to act like you are the athlete that can get up and do the things day to day. When I say it wasn't about the physique, it was about the person you needed to become in order to get the physique. And that is built on three things. It's built on discipline, your ability to say no to things that are uncomfortable. Sorry, your ability to do things that are uncomfortable and say no to things that are comfortable. Your ability to do that then on a day-to-day basis is what consistency is. So your ability to be disciplined and consistency to that discipline. And then life will try and fuck you in the ass. So you need to be able to be resilient when you fall off. Because something will happen. In that year's time frame, you will lose motivation. You will fall off. Something will happen. And that's okay. Don't think I, myself, don't fall off. I'm a human being just like you. But it's about being resilient. I know I'm resilient. For all the years spent in the military, they taught us resilience. So I know how to be resilient. But honestly, resilience is just the ability to fall off and get back to the plan. And the time it takes you to get there is how resilient you are. You want to decrease that time to literally the next day, just get straight back onto the plan. Develop those three character traits. You can have whatever physique you want. And going a level deeper, you can have whatever you want out of life. If you could develop those three character traits, you can have whatever you want out of life. And going another level deeper, this whole video is about building an attractive upper body, or attractive full body. But actually, this video is a tool so that you could just live a better life. It's so that you could go and take what you want out of life, and it's so that you could raise your self-image and your standard. Because if you could raise that, you're going to have a better quality of life in every aspect. Fitness is just the vehicle that we use to get there. What really matters is that we can develop as you are as a person, so you can go and take what the fuck you want. Because the people you see that have the success that you want, they're no different to you. But they just decided, no, fuck this, man. Like, this motherfucker's no better than me. I'm going to go and get this thing as well. The same thing is like, if you touch your pee-pee right now every day, I don't. I'm no better than you. I just decided, I'm not that guy. I don't do that thing. So I'm never going to do it again. And I never did. You can make that promise to yourself as well. There's a small side step to do as well. Do that. And honestly, you won't look back. Because you're like, I am this guy. Me sat here telling you about this, I'm no better than you. And you need to believe that I'm no better than you. And if I've done it, you can go and fucking do it as well. Because we're just human beings. We're just bodies of flesh and thoughts and frequency. So this, honestly, is the most important factor. The ability to balance your focus and to stop this happening. the ability to raise your standard in how you see yourself in the world, because you live like the athlete you are now, and understanding that it was never about the physique, but the physique is nice, and you're going to get a lot of things from it. So if you found value in this video, then subscribe, that'd be nice. And if you want to work with me, there'll be links in the description, but no pressure, of course. And I'll see you tomorrow.